Alright, so I want to speak about the insanity of my trial in Muskegon County. First of all, during my trial, I stated clearly that the woman in the courtroom was not a woman that I knew. I had never seen her before in my life. The woman never lived in the neighborhood, and that was public knowledge. It was common knowledge that the woman didn't live across the street. And sat there in the courtroom explaining that I did not know the woman. I had never seen her before, and that I had sent flowers to a different woman who did live across the street, and she was a 20. She was she was 21 years old when when all this was going on. She was a grown adult, and in the newspaper they said it was a younger female neighbor, and in the newspaper they had a different prosecutor. They had Timothy Matt in the newspaper, and the prosecutor was Benjamin Miedema. Uh, the judge was Judge Castrava. My trial was in the 60th District Court. Timothy Matt is a circuit court prosecutor. So that shows you right there there's something seriously wrong. And they would put that in the newspaper. Then they put this Stephen Wordsworth or whoever he calls himself, the obsoletist. They just shove him in the newspaper, and he sits on YouTube making up all sorts of silly, crazy videos about me, and I don't even know the man. And the judge sat in the courtroom at my trial and sat there and practiced psychology in the courtroom. He sat in the courtroom saying, I think I'm going to recommend you go to community mental health and all this stuff. He was practicing psychology in a courtroom based on my legal defense. And that shows you that there's something seriously wrong at the 60th District Court. And the whole time I was waiting to go to trial and before my arrest, I was being what you call contract stalked or gang stalked, which is popularly known as the white glove treatment from the Freemasons. But I don't really believe it's just Freemasonry. I think what it is, it's more of a corporate company type organization that puts a hit out on somebody, but they don't put a hit out on somebody to directly kill them. It is a conspiracy to commit murder, the things they do to an individual, but it's a hit out on somebody to make their life miserable and stalk them and mock them and follow them around. And that's exactly what happened to me. And the whole thing was unprofessional. Um, I went to community mental health, and I sat there for 5 weeks explaining to these people in there about the Paulie de Cooper case, about statistics on covert harassment, and sat there showing them interviews of mine from before I was arrested. I explained to them my whole case, and then they basically told me, they said, well, we don't really have any. Basically, they let me know they didn't have any reason for me to be there anymore. And a couple of the people working there told me, they said, we feel you're telling the truth. What you're saying is accurate. And I was put on probation for a after being convicted for a crime I didn't commit, after obstruction of justice and perjury. Illegal crimes were committed at the very least. I was put on probation for 5 years, and then the whole time I was going back to court for a probation violation, they were still doing the same thing. There was the courtroom procedures were still not regular Michigan state of Michigan policy. These were, Freemasonic, or whatever you want to call it, white glove treatment policy, where the people in the courtroom were showing up wearing only red shirts, and they would they would do certain stuff in the courtroom to let me know it wasn't a real court proceeding, it was fake. And so my whole reputation life was ruined over some silly ass game that had nothing to do with me. Over people lying on me for no fucking reason. And so, I was let off probation, and then the 60th District Court Judge Castrava sent a community mental worker over to my home with a police officer after all this was done back in 2018. And, I sat in jail for a year, writing the vice president's office, writing all sorts of people. And, I've been talking to the Nation of Islam, the ACLU. This stuff's all on record. And so, something that my story needs to go to help to change something for somebody. If the right people look into this, something like this would never be allowed to happen again.